the worst of our high tide cycle is still ahead of us into the afternoon. We peaked out around 78 or so feet yesterday afternoon. We were just shy 6.4-ish overnight. So overall, when you take a look at how things have progressed, it's still very disruptive. You're taking a look here. Our high tide was around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and this is still inundation from over 6-7 hours ago, right? And it has started to recede, right? But you still have this water that's up to this shoemaker building, our whole hardware store, local hardware store in Ocean City. And what's been the problem is that now that the waters have started to recede, and they look like this, and you can see, Vic, if we pan down, how we still have these road closed barriers up. So they're trying to prevent people from driving down the streets. You can see the yellow line and where we have seen the improvement as the water's begun to recede. So as people are out and about here on Monday morning, they see that and they go, okay, I can maybe get around that, right? So what we have seen, unfortunately, is a couple folks coming around these barriers, going down the road, and while they make it just fine, once they get through this water, which is much deeper, getting closer to the sidewalk, the wake then pushes kind of waves of water into these businesses, and that's what we don't want. And that's one of the main messages here with a lot of the flooded streets is please do not drive through them, and especially mindful of the speed in which you drive through them, because that's what can create a lot of damage to homes, to businesses, especially on that first level. But here we are receding hours after high tide overnight, expecting our peak high tide to come in around 1-2 o'clock this afternoon, closer to the 2 o'clock hour. And the concern is that we haven't yet to reach major flood stage. And we're expecting to get there today. And what that means is as well is all of this water that's still standing here that has not yet receded, even though they have the storm pumps working, when you have this persistent wind, it backs up the bay. And so even as low tide arrives, the water can't get out. And so it continues to compile up, and at the next high tide cycle, it's going to continue to get higher. So that's really taken over as our main risk here in Ocean City. Thankfully, we have seen improvements this morning as far as our winds go. We are no longer under a high wind warning. That wind advisory has been canceled as well. We peaked out with wind gusts around 50 miles an hour yesterday. This morning, we're much quieter, sustained around 15, gusts anywhere between 20 to 25 miles an hour. That's going to continue to diminish as we go through the night tonight. But it's a light rain. You know, it's definitely still a very wet day. We've picked up less than an inch of rain up to this point. We'll probably cross that threshold. But, Stephen, as we've been talking about, the rain aspect, you know, and Marissa, I heard her mention it too, it's more of the positive thing. You know, it's something that we can get through. It's not too disruptive. But this is the problem. And this is the coastal flooding that is expected to worsen as we go through the next several hours.
Yeah, and you anticipate a little bit of coastal inundation, right, when we're dealing with the storm. But the prolonged nature of this, how we are heading toward another high tide cycle, so what's that going to do with the water that's already there? One thing about it, Jane, you know the Jersey Shore well, once that water moves in, it's typically very slow to recede, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it'll take hours. Yesterday, where we were standing, which actually, by the way, Vic, if we pan down, we were 4 blocks down that way to the bay. It took almost 5 hours to get that water to recede after the high tide peaked. And now here we are, 6-7 hours past high tide from overnight, and it has yet to recede. So that is the concern, that, you know, we still have water here. It's going to come back up again, and it could be the worst of what we've seen, maybe cracking into the top 10 worst tidal floods that we've seen in Ocean City. We'll see.
Yeah, have to wait and see, right? Jane Minar for us in Ocean City, New Jersey. Appreciate it, Jane. Thank you.